Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Am I audible? Am I audible, everybody? Janvi, can you just let me know if I'm audible? इसमें एनालिटिक्स नहीं आ रहा है. Yes, I'm audible. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So today we are here for one particular session where we will be discussing about certain general exceptions of IPC. Can anybody tell me what is a general exception under IPC? General exception under IPC. What do you understand by that? General exceptions. What are the general exceptions? And why do we need to study? Why is it important for us to study general exceptions? Tell me. What are general exceptions and why do we need to study general exceptions? Section 76 to 106. ठीक है, Aditya. But why general exceptions and what are general exceptions? Why do we need to study them? See, general exception is something the name in itself suggests, right? Whenever there is a particular offense that is being charged upon you, right? Whenever there is a certain offense that you have been charged of, कि आपके ऊपर उसका एक allegation लगा है that you have committed that one particular offense, right? So how will you protect yourself from that particular offense to get upon yourself to be charged upon, right? So how will you defend yourself? How will you protect yourself is what general exceptions tells you. That it tells you that how will you protect yourself by taking any sort of defense, right? What is not considered as a defense, what is not considered as a charge, upon when will you understand this? That is what is called as the general exceptions, right? Clear, everybody? See, principle, a person is usually presumed to know the nature and consequences of their actions and is responsible for them. So, what is the general thing in IPC? That if you have done anything, right, if you have done anything, then you must know the nature and the consequences of your act, right? But however, there are certain exceptions detailed in chapter 4 of IPC from sections 76 to 106 that tells you that what are the certain defenses that you can take for protecting yourself. For protecting yourself, for defending yourself, right? Those are the general exceptions that defend us, that make you understand that yes, these are the things which are not considered as an offense, right? Now here, क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ डिफेंसेस. अब आपको यहाँ पे पहले दो चीजें समझनी है बिफोर मूविंग अहेड विद जनरल डिफेंसेस, दैट देयर आर सर्टेन क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ डिफेंसेस दैट यू हैव टू सी, right? The classification of defenses is into two parts. The one is an excusable defense, the another one is justifiable defense, right? Excusable defense and justifiable defense. Anybody from the name itself can just guess that what is an excusable defense and what is a justifiable defense? without reading it from here. No cheating, huh? Chalo, I'll stand here so that you cannot read it. Anybody? Justifiable and excusable defense. जस्टिफाइबल जिसको आप जस्टिफाई कर पाओ, एक्सक्यूजेबल जिसमें आपको लॉ एक्सक्यूज कर दे कि अगर आपने ये एक्ट किया भी है तो भी आप लायबल नहीं हो. Understand the meaning from the name itself, right? Excusable and justifiable, these are the acts excused due to the absence of guilty intent. आपका guilty intent नहीं है, you do not have the mens rea, right? You must have heard about this one particular uh, legal maxim which is called as actus non facit nisi mens rea, right? जब तक actus reus और mens rea दोनों नहीं होंगे, guilty act और guilty mind दोनों नहीं होंगे, तब तक वो एक एक्ट आपका तब तक वो एक्ट आपका क्या नहीं होगा, एक ऑफेंस नहीं बनेगा, राइट? सो एक्सक्यूजेबल डिफेंसेस वो होते हैं जहां पर आपका गिल्टी माइंड नहीं होता, एंड दैट इज व्हाई लॉ उसको एक्सक्यूज कर देता है उन एक्ट्स को. द एक्ट इज नॉट कंसिडर्ड क्रिमिनल बिकॉज द इंटेंशन टू कमिट द क्राइम इज लैकिंग, राइट? इंटेंशन नहीं था आपका एक्ट करने का, बट फिर भी एक्शन हो गया, फिर भी एक्ट हो गया. वो कौन से केसेस होते हैं दैट वी विल अंडरस्टैंड इन नेक्स्ट 5-10 minutes, बट फॉर नाउ अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर एक्सक्यूजेबल डिफेंसेस. Clear? Now, justifiable defenses. These are the acts that are justified under the circumstances. The act in itself is not excused, but is deemed justified. ऐसे acts जो अपने आप में justify हो जाते हैं, right? It was necessary on that particular stance to perform that particular act. That is what is called as justifiable defenses, right? Categories of exceptions, right? Before moving ahead with mistake of law and mistake of fact, let's go ahead into the next slide, which is the mistake in itself. This is the first general exception that you need to understand. Mistake. जो पीछे मिस्टेक ऑफ फैक्ट और मिस्टेक ऑफ लॉ आप पढ़ रहे थे, उसी मिस्टेक को आप किस तरीके से एज अ डिफेंस यूज करोगे, दैट इज व्हाट यू हैव टू स्टडी हियर. मिस्टेक अंडर सेक्शन 76 एंड 79 ऑफ आईपीसी, राइट? राइट, पहले ये बताओ, एक्सक्यूजेबल एंड जस्टिफाइबल डिफेंसेस समझ में आया? Did you understand that what is excusable defense and what is justifiable defense? Ma'am, can you give in brief, ma'am? What should I need to give in brief? And one more thing that I want to tell you, this session won't end here. Today, whatever exceptions we study, right? How much ever time we have today, whatever exceptions we study, we will be solving the questions, the legal passages tomorrow from the same topic, so that you know that how to interpret the questions, right? How to interpret the topics into the passages, right? Please explain in short again so that I can note. आपके पास रिकॉर्डिंग होगी, डोंट वरी. आपके पास यूट्यूब पे यू विल हैव दिस वन पर्टिकुलर सेशन, आप वहां से नोट्स बना सकते हो, राइट? सो राइट नाउ जस्ट फोकस ऑन अंडरस्टैंडिंग, नोट्स आप बाद में बना लेना, राइट? पहले सुन लो, समझ लो, और फिर जब कल मेरे साथ प्रैक्टिस कर लोगे तो आपको बहुत अच्छे से आइडिया हो जाएगा इस टॉपिक का. सो यू डोंट हैव टू वरी. Tomorrow again at 1 p.m. I'll be live and we'll be solving the questions, right? So don't worry, everything we will be doing here itself, right? Now, okay, now section 76 excuses a person who is bound by law to do something and has done it, or who in good faith believes that they are bound by law to do something due to a mistake of fact, right? So they are telling you two things here: mistake of law and mistake of fact, right? Understand very carefully. Mistake of two types, of fact and of law, right? mistake of fact and mistake of law, which is justifiable, right? Justifiable is mistake of fact, right? कि आप उसको justify कर सकते हो कि mistake हो गई, fact के बारे में नहीं पता था, right? But mistake of law is no excuse. It is non-excusable, no excuse. आप किसी का murder कर दो और आप कह दो मुझे नहीं पता था कि murder is illegal. Mistake of law is not excusable. Mistake of fact is certainly excusable, right? Absolves a person who in good faith by a reason of mistake of fact not law believes that their act is justified by law. Let me give you an example. See, there was this police officer. He has been given the orders to arrest Z, right? He has been given orders to arrest Z. Now, he went to the colony of Z where there are certain houses, right? And this one is the house of Z, right? Here, there is a person called as A, right? And from here, there is another person which is B, right? Now, B is the enemy of Z. Understand the example very carefully. B is the enemy of Z. And, sorry, B is the enemy of A. B is the enemy of A, sorry, right? And now, when B is coming from here and the police officer asks B that I want to arrest Z, where is he? Can you tell me where is he? Right? So B tells that this person A is Z. He does not take the name of A, saying उसकी तरफ point out किया A की तरफ, saying that this is Z because he is A's enemy, right? उसको A से revenge लेना था. He is A's enemy, and that is why he pointed out at A, and the police officer arrested A instead of Z. Instead of Z, right? Do you think that the police officer can be responsible of arresting A instead of Z? Can he be liable for anything? Or before that question, tell me, is this a mistake of fact or is this a mistake of law? Is this a mistake of fact or is this a mistake of law? क्या पुलिस ऑफिसर को कोई लॉ नहीं पता था या कोई फैक्ट नहीं पता था? मिस्टेक ऑफ फैक्ट और मिस्टेक ऑफ लॉ? Mistake of fact, right? He was unaware that who was Z. So this is a fact that he didn't know, right? But now tell me one thing, that can this police officer be held liable for not arresting Z and arresting B, arresting A? Tell me, can he be liable? No, because he acted in good faith and he did not know that who was actually Z, right? That is what is called as mistake of fact and it is excusable, right? Yes, this is a mistake of fact, right? So now, reasoning behind mistake of law. Generally, ignorance of law is not excused to prevent abuse of this defense. जैसे कि मैंने आपको मर्डर वाला एग्जांपल दिया कि मर्डर करके आप ये कहो कि this is something that I didn't know that the murder was illegal, right? You cannot take this defense because फिर इसलिए हर कोई ये करने लगेगा कि हर कोई किसी को किल करेगा एंड कहेगा मुझे तो पता ही नहीं था मर्डर इज एन ऑफेंस, राइट? दैट इज व्हाई मिस्टेक ऑफ लॉ sometimes not, usually is not excusable. Limited circumstances where mistake of law can be a defense, right? This is something जो आपको कोई भी नहीं बताएगा कि ऐसे कौन से सिनेरियोज हैं जहां पर मिस्टेक ऑफ लॉ भी जस्टिफाइड है, एक्सक्यूजेबल है. द लॉ वॉज नॉट पब्लिश्ड. सपोजिटली कोई लॉ आ गया बट वो अभी तक पब्लिश नहीं हुआ है, राइट? देन इन दैट पर्टिकुलर केस इट विल बी अ सिनेरियो ऑफ एक्सक्यूजेबल. लॉ पता ही नहीं है लोगों को, लॉ अभी तक पब्लिश ही नहीं हुआ है, सिर्फ पार्लियामेंट में डिसाइड हो गया है कि ऐसा कोई लॉ बनाना है बट अभी तक पब्लिश नहीं हुआ है, देन इट विल बी एक्सक्यूजेबल. Reliance on a statute later overturned or deemed unconstitutional. ऐसा कोई statute जो overturn हो गया है, unconstitutional हो गया है, right? That will be excusable. Reliance on a judicial decision, कोई judicial decision ऐसा था, उस basis पे आपने rely करके कोई ऐसा act किया है, right? तो उस case में that would be excusable. Reliance on an interpretation by an appropriate official, कोई appropriate official ने आपको वो चीज बताई है, right? Now, case examples. There are certain cases that are related to mistake of fact and mistake of law. First one, R versus Tolson. The defendant was not guilty of bigamy because she reasonably believed that her husband was dead. In this case, what happened was that there was this one wife who believed that her husband has died. She took all reasonable care to find out that whether the husband is alive or is he dead, right? When she couldn't find her husband, so she believed that the husband is dead, right? And then she married again, right? So now later on it was found that the husband was alive. So will she be held liable for bigamy? No, because she took all the reasonable care, and under it was a mistake of fact that she didn't know, and that is why she got married and she was not held liable, right? The next case is R versus Prince. The defendant was convicted of kidnapping despite believing the girl was over 16 as he did not act in good faith, right? एक लड़की को उसने किडनैप किया, right? There was this one person who kidnapped one girl thinking that the girl is above 16 years of age, but the girl was below 16 years and she was a minor, right? So क्या आप उसको convict नहीं करोगे? Don't you think the intention is bad? The intention is of course bad. आप उसको kidnap करने तो आए थे ना, irrespective of whatever the age was. That is why the person was convicted. Here mistake of fact does not play any role, mistake of law does not play any role. आपका intention था उसको kidnap करने का, आप good faith में बिल्कुल act नहीं किए, and that is why the person, the defendant was convicted, right? Till here it is clear, everybody? Tell me. Till here it is clear? R versus Bailey. The defendant was held guilty despite being unaware of a new statute due to lack of access of information. अब इस पर्टिकुलर सिनेरियो में देयर वाज दिस वन पर्टिकुलर पर्सन हु टुक अ डिफेंस कि मेरे को स्टैट्यूट, मेरे को लॉ के बारे में नहीं पता था क्योंकि मेरे पास इंटरनेट फैसिलिटी नहीं है और मेरे पास रिसोर्सेज का एक्सेस नहीं है, राइट? सो डू यू थिंक दैट दैट कैन बी द सिनेरियो वेयर द डिफेंस कैन बी गिवन, वेयर द डिफेंस कैन बी गिवन? ऐसे तो हर कोई बोल देगा कि मेरे पास तो रिसोर्सेज नहीं थे, मुझे लॉ के बारे में नहीं पता था. डू यू थिंक दैट इज जस्टिफाइड? गुड फेथ यहाँ पे उसने सारी वो चीजें दिखाई थी डोनिक्स, यहाँ पे उसने सारी वो चीजें दिखाई थी कि मैंने हर रीजनेबल मेजर लिया है, मैंने एक टाइम तक वेट किया है दैट कि वो आ जाए, ठीक है? उसने हर वो रीजनेबल प्रूफ दिया था कि आई वेटेड फॉर गुड लॉन्ग टाइम, आई डिड एवरी पॉसिबल रीजनेबल थिंग दैट माय हस्बैंड विल बी coming back, but he didn't, and then later on when she got remarried the husband was found to be alive, right? सो आर वर्सेस बेली में नो बडी कैन टेक दिस एज अ डिफेंस कि मुझे लॉ इसलिए नहीं पता था क्योंकि मेरे पास एक्सेस नहीं है इंफॉर्मेशन का. दैट इज नो डिफेंस. आपको लॉ पता होना चाहिए. इन वॉट एवर कंट्री यू आर लिविंग, यू शुड बी नोइंग द लॉ ऑफ दैट वन पर्टिकुलर कंट्री. आपसे सारे लॉ, फॉरेन लॉ, आज आप घूमने चले जाते हो सिंगापुर, आप कहीं पर भी चले जाते हो, आपको हर एक लॉ नहीं पता होना चाहिए. बट द कंट्री दैट यू स्टे इन, द कंट्री दैट यू आर अ सिटीजन ऑफ, you must know the law of your own country, right? So that is why this was no defense. R versus wheat and stock. The defendant was convicted of bigamy despite being misinformed about a divorce due to mistake of law, right? इस केस में क्या हुआ था? सेम, इसका ऑपोजिट. इस केस में हुआ था कि the person married again, but उस केस में the person she got married to was not divorced, right? And she also did not take proper reasonable care to find out that whether the person is divorced or not. Then she was convicted of bigamy, right? Clear, everybody? Moving ahead. Good faith and due care. Good faith and due care as a defense under Section 57. Now, Section 57 defines good faith as requiring due care and attention, right? अगर आप good care, due care और attention में, proper due care and attention में कुछ कर रहे हो, then it is a defense that you can take for if any offense that you have been charged for. A person must act with reasonable care and caution, right? इसका एक ही एग्जाम्पल दूंगी, आपको पूरा समझ में आ जाएगा. केस एग्जाम्पल, in the case State of West Bengal versus Shiv Mangal Singh, police officers were justified in firing at a mob under the orders of a superior officer as the action was done in good faith and with due care. Right? Let me give you another example. ये तो आपको समझ में आ गया होगा by the simplest language. There is this doctor, right? And there is this husband and wife. The wife is pregnant, right? The wife is pregnant. The husband met with an accident. And now the wife takes the husband to the doctor, right? Now there are two stances. What happens is the husband dies and the doctor comes out from the room where the wife is sitting. The wife is sitting here. And now the doctors come out of the room and tells to the wife that, chalo, stand up from here. Your husband has died and go away. Take the body and go away. Listening to this, the wife went into trauma and she also faced the miscarriage. The first scenario is this, right? Second scenario is the doctor comes out and he sees that the wife is sitting here and the wife is pregnant. He sees this. He comes here, makes the wife sit, hands over a glass of water to the wife,